Greetings, wrestling fans out there on the internet. You are fortunate to be tuning in to the Malapert Smark podcast. I got Vlad and Robert on the show to review the Royal Rumble results, as well as talk about the championship title picture as we are on the road to WrestleMania. Quick disclaimer for this segment, it was recorded before last Friday night's SmackDown, so no one on the panel knew of Cody stepping aside for The Rock to face Roman Reigns instead. We will react to that development on the next recording. But for right now, you can enjoy how we were all so very wrong about who we all thought the men's Royal Rumble winner would face at WrestleMania. Other than that, we hope you enjoy our coverage of the 2024 men's and women's Royal Rumble.
I can't believe sometimes her nickname is the Destroyer when she has that sweet face.
Laura the Destroyer. Dude, she destroyed my 7th pair of glasses. That's like $300, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
7th hair.
It's alright. She's an angel. She's an angel.
Poor Kay.
Say something.
I feel... Oh, Laura, do a little bark. She's like, right, what? She's like, what the hell is this?
All right, welcome back to the Malapert Smark podcast. We talk pro wrestling here. I got Vlad, the wrestling expert. Thank you for joining me. I also got Robert, the frozen Asian. Yo, yo, yo. All right, so these two guys are my good friends, and we watched the Royal Rumble together on Saturday. They were over. You know, I was considering doing like a little live stream or something with us, but man, I was a little tipped up, so I couldn't really get anything together, if you know what I mean. So, plus, in that state, I didn't really look good or sound good, so whatever. But it was fun. It was a blast. It was a good show. Let's talk about it, step by step, all right?
Sure.
Let's start with the Roman Reigns match. Roman Reigns defended the Universal title against Randy Orton, LA Knight, and my boy, AJ Styles. It was a 4-way match, and it was going to have a lot of bearing as to who was going to go into WrestleMania as the Universal Champion, which is the more important title at this point. I don't care what anyone says or what Seth Rollins thinks. But, okay, Vlad, do you have any comments about this match and Roman Reigns defending title?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really surprising here. We knew he'd win. We knew there'd be some cheating involved. That's how he's won all his matches.
Cheating, but it was a 4-way with no rules, but okay. I mean, I think it would have been stupid to not have his guys come in and interfere, really.
I guess in that sense, you're right. It's not really cheating, but I guess involvement from the bloodline, I shouldn't say it that way. So, I mean, there really was no surprises here. I didn't really think the match was anything, like, fantastic. I think 4-way was a little bit too crowded, too many people involved. I don't think it really needed that. They could have just done, like, really just a one-on-one with him and Orton or him and LA Knight. I don't think it really needed like a 4-way at the Royal Rumble. I don't know. It just seemed a little too much. It wasn't Roman's best match. He's had a lot of good ones in his title reign when he does defend it at these premium live events. But this was not really one of my favorite ones. I thought it was kind of slow and it didn't really do much for me. I was kind of more interested in the Royal Rumble matches themselves. Unlike, as Robert mentioned during when we were watching this one, unlike last year where he defended it against Owens and that whole thing with Sammy, that was a memorable thing. This year just didn't really hit like last year. And I think that more to the point of maybe he shouldn't be champion at this point anyways, you know. Yeah. But nonetheless, we go on.
Let me get to Robert. Robert, did you have any comments about this match and Roman winning and going into WrestleMania as champion?
What Vlad said that I said, I totally forgot I said that. But yes, the last year's Royal Rumble match that Roman Reigns was involved in was a lot better than this. Definitely the build-up was more interesting. The match itself was a lot better. And the fallout after the match was amazing. This year, I don't know. I like all 4 of the individuals involved in this match. I'm a fan of all of them. Yeah. But the outcome was too predictable, and I'm not a fan of fatal 4-ways to begin with, so it was just whatever to me. It got Roman Reigns another win heading to WrestleMania, and that's that. That's all it achieved. Nothing more than that.
Well, I don't have anything more to add to that. I'll agree with both of you. the build-up. I mean, Roman isn't even like on the show a lot this year, so they didn't really have a chance to have him have storyline build-ups or anything. So yeah, there wasn't really much here. I mean, I love AJ Styles. I love the respect that he gets, that he's in a top spot in a championship match at a major pay-per-view. That's cool. LA Knight too, but it was predictable. So as Vlad says, on to WrestleMania. Okay, let's move along. There's not much to talk about there. I'll talk next about the Women's Royal Rumble match starring Jade Cargill. Surprise appearance. Not very surprising. I think Robert did mention that he thought that could happen. So
yeah, Robert was very on the ball.
Robert, any thoughts about Jade and her performance on the show?
That was definitely one great debut. Even though she didn't win it, what she did do when she was still in the ring and not eliminated was very memorable. So she did leave a really good impression. And I think this was the best match of the night. There were only like 4 of them, right? Or
Well, yeah,
4.
4.
This was, I think, the best one of the night. Also, I haven't really watched a lot of WWE programming leading up to Royal Rumble, so I didn't know all the angles. So the Women's Royal Rumble was very unpredictable to me up until when it got to the last 3 or 4 women. Then it was much easier to kind of figure out, like, okay, it's got to be one of these 2 people, right, out of the remaining 4. But when there were still a lot of wrestlers in the ring, not yet eliminated, I had no idea because I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of WWE programming leading up to Royal Rumble. So maybe that's added to the fun factor for me, was the uncertainty of who was going to win as opposed to like the men's Royal Rumble. But overall, I enjoyed it.
Vlad, you want to give any comments about the Jade Cargill appearance? Jade fresh off of AEW, a coup, some would say, stealing her away from AEW, superstar.
I mean, definitely one with potential to be a superstar. She's not there yet, but man, that was a great debut. They got everything they wanted out of that. They made her look like a legit star. They made her look like oh, you're so
like Laura.
They made her look like Laura, the star of all stars. So all in all, it was great. It was tremendous debut. She looked super strong. She eliminated Nia Jax, who's like the other big bad, and she just by herself just threw her right over. That was great.
That was a crazy spot. Crazy spot.
Yeah, so that was a great look for her. I mean, I still don't know how she's going to work in the ring. She has obviously a great look, right? I mean, she looks like an athlete. She's big, she's tall, she's physical, she's muscular. She looks like she could, kick ass. But we question her work and can she get where she needs to go to be there against people like Rhea, against Bianca, people of that ilk that are obviously known as really good workers, really, really good wrestlers. So that's where she wants to go, and hopefully she can get there, because if they can get her somewhere close to that, she's a superstar. She's a legit superstar, because just of her look alone, So as far as her debut, great. And the one thing I also mentioned, I do watch WWE programming, and I did not know who was going to even watch it. I mean, a lot of people are saying that it was kind of obvious that Bayley was going to win, but I think that's just in retrospect, because she did win. I don't know if people were predicting. I mean, I didn't really read the predictions, so I don't really know. I was not predicting Bayley, I'll tell you that much. I was thinking more Bianca as the favorite, maybe Becky as a dark horse, and I was not thinking Bayley at any time during the show.
I still kind of don't really get it, but okay. And not that I mind. I love her. I think she's fantastic.
Yeah,
but it's just.
I think Bayley's fantastic. It is kind of surprising, unless it leads to her, like, as Robert again said to me during the final 3. Robert was on the ball throughout the whole night. Maybe because he had the least amount to drink, I don't know. But he was on the ball the whole night, because he was saying how, like, yeah, wouldn't it make sense for Bayley to win when it got to the final 3? Because then she could feud with, Sky, who's her, obviously, damage control teammate. And they were even teasing that friction anyways, right? And once he said that, yeah, I'm like, yeah, he's right. That's exactly where they're going. But for some reason, it didn't click, because even I said, like, oh, I think they're going to let Jade win this. They're going to actually really stick it to AEW, have Jade win the Royal Rumble, for God's sakes. But no.
For a second, I thought it was going to happen based on who was in the ring, because...
Yeah, who were the final 3? It was her,
Liv Morgan, Bayley, and
Liv Morgan, right? It was really well done, especially the end of it was really good, really fascinating stuff. As I didn't know which way it was going to go, and all the eliminations were done really well, especially near the end. You just didn't know what to expect. At least I didn't. I'm not someone that reads all the dirt sheet stuff. So if there was some people saying that this was going to go Bailey's way, I didn't read that and I didn't know that. And by watching the show, I wouldn't have guessed that. So anyways, really exciting Women's Royal Rumble. I thought it was really good.
All right. I'll just make a comment about Jade. I think they did basically perfect. I think they made her look fantastic. And I think I have a feeling, because it was kind of weird why they were building up Nia Jax for the past few months. It didn't really make sense to us. But I have a feeling they had an end goal of building her up just to feed her to Jade, which was really great. It turned out fantastic because she's been on the show. She's been getting wins. She dominated the Royal Rumble up till that point. And then Jade came in and eliminated her. Perfect. Jade didn't win. Okay, this segment is called The Road to WrestleMania. So we're trying to figure out what are going to be the matchups at WrestleMania. So although I'm focusing on Jade here, she didn't win, so she might not be at WrestleMania. I don't know. She could have a spot on there, but she's not going to be in the title match. Okay. I just thought it was worth mentioning because it was pretty damn great. And, you know, they took her away from AEW and gave her a really insanely high spot. They've been really pushing her storyline-wise to try to make her look like a star. And I think they've been doing gangbusters with that. In terms of who won, okay, Bailey, that's fine to me. I don't see any problem with that. Whether she faces Rhea and just loses to her or faces Io Sky, either one could turn out fine. Both of you, I agree. I think it was the most exciting match of the night to me. It was the first match, which was good for them. They were fresh on everyone's mind. People weren't really worn out yet, but it was exciting, especially the end. It was kind of unpredictable. But I'm going to move on unless Robert has anything to say about the Women's Royal Rumble.
Just that I can't remember if Bailey's ever won the Royal Rumble before. I believe this is the first time.
I would think so.
I think so. With that being said, I'm really happy for her. I think she deserves this victory. She's been one of the best women in the company and actually in all of women's wrestling. So I'm very happy with the result.
Let's move on to the Men's Rumble. And it started off with something pretty cool and pretty funky, which was Jey Uso was the first entrant. And then when the second entrance music hits, it was Jimmy Uso, his twin brother, who they had separated because they had a falling out, and Jay couldn't even stand to be near him or anywhere near his family, so he left to Raw. And then they saved any type of connection between them for this match at the Royal Rumble. Vlad, how did that moment hit? What did you think of that?
Well, it wasn't exactly that because they had met at that, whatever it's called. It wasn't Fall Brawl, but that cage match, right? So they already had some sort of contact where they had that 4-on-4 cage match, right? But this was a cool moment. Number 1 and number 2 at the Royal Rumble. That's always kind of an interesting spot. Who's it going to be? And it's cool that these were two twin brothers kind of feuding with each other, kind of hating each other. I was amused and I was tickled by it, given the history and everything that happened with the Bloodline this whole past year, that they were number 1 and number 2. I thought that was kind of creative and kind of cool. Other than that, there's not really much to say about it, but it was a nice kind of thing.
All right. Well, that's my bad that I forgot about the whole War Games thing.
War Games. Jesus, I couldn't even think of War Games.
When Jimmy came out, Jay was like, oh my God. He couldn't even look at him. You know, it was like, this is too heavy for me. This is crazy, which was good acting, I thought. But okay, I forgot that they did have that one meeting before, but still, I thought it was a cool moment. Like you, I was tickled by it. Robert, how did that hit for you?
That was a great way to start. I did not predict those two would be the first. They had their stare down. Yeah, they had their War Games, but I think this is their first like
one-on-one.
One-on-one,
one-on-one, one-on-one for sure.
So that was cool to see. I think that was a great way to start.
But let's move on to the crux of the matter. Okay, the final two, which Cody we expected, and CM Punk was the other guy. Before we talk about CM Punk's injury, which unfortunately we're going to have to talk about after this, but let's talk about how it felt to see Cody and Punk star and be the last two guys and put in some work at the end before Cody eliminated CM Punk. Let's start with Robert.
Well, I did think it would come down to the two of them, especially given the promo on the Monday Night Raw leading up to Royal Rumble. They were, to me, the two favorites to win it, but I did still think Cody was still the favorite by if a somewhat significant margin, where if CM Punk had won, it would have been a surprise for me. Even though I do have him as the second favorite to win it, I still think it would have gone to Cody for sure. But yeah, it was the right call for them to be the last two. Now, I didn't know about the injury. If none of us did
Wait,
until
hold
much
on,
later.
Robert. I don't want
Right.
to talk about the injury yet. We're going to talk about that next. Let me get a comment
Okay.
from Vlad about Cody and Punk being the final two at the Royal Rumble. What did you think of that?
Well,
I kind of know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
well, you know what I'm going to say because I've been saying it to you in text messages, but this was, I don't know if it was specifically to just stick it to AW or not, but even Cody mentioned in the post whatever thing that he expected this to happen in AW. Now, if that doesn't twist the knife deep into their backs, I don't know what does. They're two of the prominent stars in the wrestling world right now. The last two at the Royal Rumble both have AW ties, both left in kind of weird terms, especially CM Punk.
Punk.
Yeah, so it was
a
obviously
trip. This was a trip.
It was a great moment for wrestling fans, and I also thought it was a great last when they got to just the two of them. They had this really kind of epic match that kind of started unfolding.
Yes, it was like a fucking match, which is incredible considering Punk was injured the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, considering that he just, again, well, we'll get to that, as we said, that he just tore his triceps again, that he managed to proceed to have a full-fledged 10-minute thing with Cody, which was great. You know, back and forth, action, left and right, left you kind of at the edge of your seat. Now, yes, I agree with Robert. I kind of thought Cody would prevail at the end just because logically it makes more sense story-wise for me. If that's what the direction I'd go with Cody. So not surprised at the result, but tickled to death that it was those at the final two because of the ties to AEW and the fact that they wrestled in AEW and both left the company to do bigger and greater things. You know, that's really the only way you could look at it.
It was humiliating for AEW. Let's just put it the way it is, okay? It's humiliating. Yeah. This is a disaster. They couldn't use those two superstars to get them anywhere near their potential. And then they let them slip away. And AEW is struggling with the ratings and Collision ratings. Oh my God, I don't know if you guys have seen that. It dropped below 300,000 on last Saturday.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's not surprising.
Okay, Punk and Cody, they starred. It was cool. They both did really well. But just as Robert mentioned, there was an injury, and Drew McIntyre DDT'd CM Punk, and he tore his bicep, but he finished the Royal Rumble match. But he's out for WrestleMania, as we saw on Raw. So, Robert, you were going to comment on this. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
To go back to the matchup between Cody and Seth being the last two at Royal Rumble.
Cody and Punk. Cody
and Punk, sorry. I did see at some points when CM Punk was lifting Cody up for the go to sleep, it looked like CM Punk was struggling a little bit, but I thought he was just trying to sell fatigue or pain or whatever. I thought that he was just acting. I didn't actually think he was injured until we found out later. Okay, yeah, the injury that we eventually found out about, that's very unfortunate. It actually reminded me of a promo that John Moxley said about CM Punk and AEW. I don't know if you remember. Oh well,
yes.
Well, no, there was a.
You remind us. I usually try to ignore Moxley, so please remind us.
Well, the only part about the promo that I remember from John Moxley, he was clearly talking about CM Punk when he said "fragile ego, fragile mind, fragile body."
Damn.
He used those words to describe CM Punk, and that I believe that promo happened. I want to say after the match where CM Punk got a foot injury during his matchup against John Moxley. And so I immediately thought of that promo when I heard about CM Punk's latest injury. But yeah, this is unfortunate. I don't know what ultimately the WrestleMania plans were for CM Punk. I don't know if they were really going to go through with the potential dream match with Stone Cold or if he was going to end up fighting Seth Rollins. Either way, it would have been interesting to watch. I would have been into it, whichever way. I would have preferred Stone Cold. But anyways, from what I've heard, this is going to take several months to recover from, and that's unfortunate. You know, he is one of the needle movers in the wrestling business, so it sucks that he's not going to be involved in WrestleMania.
It's unfortunate, and it's really sad because this keeps happening, right, Vlad?
Yeah. I think at this point, you have to say that as much as I like him, and I think as much as maybe we all like him, that he just can't. He's like, let me compare it to like Chris Paul, something that Kahan can relate to.
Yeah, when he was
just
on the
can't-
Clippers. Yeah.
He just can't stay healthy when it matters most, and he can't get through these tough, big shows, these matches, because his body's kind of beat up. He had that 7-year break from wrestling, and it's hard to kind of get back into it like that and keep your body right when you're not going like all these guys do 200 plus days a year, or a lot of them do at the very least. So it's tough when you have that type of time off, and we're talking about years and years, and then you try to get back into it like that, and you're not really that young anymore. You're in your 40s. It's hard to kind of maintain all of that going forward. So at the very least, it's hard to rely on him to get through something injury-free anymore, as much as we like his character, as much as we like his promos. And I like him. I'm a big fan. I like all that stuff. I like everything about the way he thinks of wrestling from a psychological standpoint. I appreciate all of that. But at the same time, it kind of is what it is. If you're injury prone, you're injury prone. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, you name it, Anthony Davis, whatever.
And it wasn't even like a crazy move. It was just a DDT.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So if that's going to get him injured, what can you really expect? If any
So you think they should keep trying again and again and again to get him to be in major storylines? AEW kind of gave up on him. They're like, he's a troublemaker and he can't even stay in the ring. So they gave up. I mean, this was a minor victory for AEW. You know how we were saying the Royal Rumble Final 2 was a disaster for AEW? This was a little bit of a saving grace because it made them look like...
I agree. No, it didn't make them look like they were right, but it made them... I don't think that's the thing. They didn't get rid of him because of his injuries. They would have kept coming back to him if he wasn't.
Yeah, right.
But it sucks when the guy just keeps going off TV for 6 months. It's like, what can you do with the guy? You know what I mean? But
I agree. I completely agree. And that's why I'm saying that at this point, it's hard to rely on him.
It's more than disappointing, Robert. It's almost sad. Like, it's sad to the point where, like, dude, you're going to give up. But, I mean, they tried to save it on Raw. So they had a good segment where he came out and at least, he had a great promo. And then he even got physical with Drew McIntyre, because Drew McIntyre came out and said, "You deserve this," or "I'm happy this happened. I prayed for this."
I prayed for this. Yeah.
Like, whoa.
And McIntyre is getting all praise to McIntyre because he's getting great heat from this. He got great heat from that whole promo.
But I just wanted to say that I'm glad at least they used the injury. They didn't just send him home and say, all right, you know what, we'll see you in 6 months. At least he got physical a little bit with what he could do. It was pretty good, the little spat they had with Drew McIntyre. So I guess they're going to try again. They're going to wait for him to come back and then have a feud with Drew and then see if they could push him into next year's WrestleMania, which, God, I hope so. But, man, okay.
I think they have no choice but to try again because, as Robert said, there's very few guys in today's wrestling that really move the needle, really make a difference in your business, like really make a difference. CM Punk is one of those guys. They have no choice but to keep trying as long as he wants to keep trying himself, because there's very few guys out there that really make a difference to your business in wrestling today. It's not like the old days where there's like maybe 10 guys, 15 guys, 20 guys that you could point to that like, okay, these guys could carry a company. In today's wrestling, the way it's been booked, especially WWE wrestling, there's not that many guys, as we know, that can really make a difference in your business. And he's one of them that does. So they have to keep going with him as long as he's willing to.
Give it another try. I don't know. If it happens again next year, like, God, I'm just like, forget it, bro. Like, I love you, Punk, but just go home, man. Anyways.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying from a business standpoint, they have to try because he makes a difference.
That's true.
All right. Last thing we're going to get to for this WrestleMania talk, because it is the road to WrestleMania as we're talking about this. All these things that happen from now until WrestleMania is going to shape WrestleMania. So Cody won the Royal Rumble. Any chance he chooses Seth instead of Roman?
Oh, me? I go first. Okay.
Yeah, you go first.
To quote the canceled Vince McMahon, no chance in hell.
Oh, my God.
No, he's not going to choose Seth. He's going to choose Roman because he's not a guy. No, I'm not going to say he's not a guy.
So that was a waste of time segment on Monday that they had where Seth was trying to convince him my title is more important.
First of all, Seth is all messed up himself injury-wise. What sense would that make for Cody, the ultimate good guy, to face the injured guy
Be the
at
easier.
WrestleMania. That's what he wants, to face this easier injured up guy, or he wants to face the top
That's what
guy.
Gunther's going to do.
But Gunther is the heel here. Cody's like the face of all faces, right? So
Yeah.
no, it doesn't make any sense for him to face an injured up Seth Rollins. It would make sense for Gunther, but not for
So
Cody.
it's going to be Roman, Cody, and Cody wins.
It's got to be. It's got
Okay,
to be. It has
okay.
to happen. It has
All
to
right.
happen.
I just wanted to get that clearly on tape. All right, then.
on tape for the record. Please document this. Cody
Robert-
must win at WrestleMania.
There's no way he chooses Seth. I want to point out like a lot of the issues that I have with Seth Rollins' promo on Raw, why he should be chosen as opposed to Roman Reigns as the opponent. The title that Seth has currently, to me, feels more like a consolation prize, since like nobody could
Always
beat
been that way.
Roman Reigns. So let's just create this other title, but it's not really the main title. And I believe a lot of fans' perspective is kind of more in line of pretty much of what I'm saying right now. They view Roman Reigns' title as the real title to go after. So yes, that's great that Seth is defending it much more frequently than Roman and actually shows up to almost every episode. That's great. He wants to say the Roman Reigns title, you shouldn't go after that because that's a title on someone that almost never shows up. Okay, what about all the other former champions that held the title before? Should we disregard the lineage of everyone that held it? I mean, you're just describing the current champion. That doesn't mean everybody who's held that title was always like that. Right? And Cody does win it from him. He could change the culture of that championship. He could be what Seth Rollins is for his championship. He could be the workhorse and defend it way more often than Roman does, right? So also Roman is the much bigger name. It would make more, the headline of Cody beating Roman Reigns would be a lot more significant than Cody beating Seth. So that's another point that goes against Seth Rollins. And then lastly, Cody's already beaten Seth not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Like,
Yes.
really, what would be more impressive, beating the person that you couldn't beat or beating the person you've already beaten 3 times? That just makes no sense. So it would be really stupid for Cody to choose Seth over Roman.
All right.
So
then.
yeah, that's...
All right. That's a good wrap up to this segment. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for our WrestleMania talk. We'll see. We got a couple months left till it actually happens. Many things could happen, I guess. Twists and turns, injuries. The Rock, we didn't even mention. I did hear someone say that The Rock.
What's he going to be up to?
Yeah,
Right,
so if he
WrestleMania.
fights Roman, maybe they're setting up Cody and Seth. I mean, all it would take would be for Seth to kidnap Cody's wife, and I'm sure that's going to end up being a feud right there. You know what I mean?
Kidnap him. He can barely walk. Who's he
I
gonna
guess.
kidnap?
You know what I'm saying. They could make something out of it if they wanted to, but it's still a wild card. The Rock is still a wild card, so
I
we'll...
think that's right. That's a big point. The Rock. What's he going to be doing at WrestleMania, if anything? That's the thing left to be decided.
All right, let's put a pin on this. We're going to move on, and we're going to do other topics. We're going to go back to a classic wrestling, 1996 WCW. If you guys haven't subscribed to our channel, we've got lots of classic wrestling talk, modern wrestling talk, everything you need in terms of wrestling. Add us to your list of favorite podcasts, please. We're also on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, whatever the fuck else, wherever you get your podcasts. There's a million of those apps. Castbox, that's my favorite one, but okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.